Luke Skywalker was never just a farm boy from Tatooine. From the moment he left his home world, the galaxy started testing him in ways he could never imagine. He faced frozen predators on ice planets. He survived giant space creatures drifting through asteroid fields, and he stood against desert monsters, swamp horrors, and things that should not even exist in space. Some of these creatures hunted him, some nearly killed him, and some changed the course of his destiny forever. And the first creatures Luke ever truly learns about are not in space or battlefields. They are fast, aggressive, and hidden in the rocky canyons surrounding his home. These creatures are known as Womp Rats. To most people in the galaxy, the name sounds almost harmless. Something small, something insignificant. But on Tatooine, Womp Rats are fast-moving canyon predators that thrive in the narrow rock corridors carved into the desert. They are not giant monsters, but they are dangerous in their own way. They move quickly through tight canyon spaces, darting between rocks and shadows. Their speed and unpredictability make them difficult targets, even for experienced pilots flying low over the desert. Luke spends his early life practicing piloting in his T-16 Skyhopper, racing through these canyons and learning to track moving targets. When he mentions a bullseyeing Womp Rats, he is not talking about something simple. He is describing early survival training in a harsh environment. These small encounters shape Luke in ways he does not fully understand yet. Because in the galaxy he is about to enter, survival will depend on exactly those skills. But Luke's first real encounter with a deadly creature outside Tatooine does not happen on a battlefield. It happens on an ice planet. After joining the Rebel Alliance, Luke is stationed on Hoth, a frozen world hidden deep within the Outer Rim. The environment is brutal. Temperatures drop far below survival levels. Storms can appear without warning and erase visibility completely. It is on this world that Luke faces one of his most terrifying early encounters. The Wampa is a massive predator adapted perfectly to the frozen wastelands of Hoth. Its thick white fur blends into the snow, making it nearly invisible during blizzards. Its powerful limbs allow it to move through deep snow with surprising speed, and its claws are strong enough to rip through ice and flesh with ease. Luke encounters the Wampa during a routine patrol outside Echo Base. At first, there is nothing unusual, just snow, wind, and silence. But in seconds, everything changes. The creature attacks without warning. Luke is pulled off his tauntaun and dragged through the snow before he can even react. The world becomes white chaos as the storm hides everything around him. When he wakes up, he finds himself hanging inside the creature's ice cave. The Wampa is preparing its meal. Frozen bones and remains of past victims are scattered around the cave. The silence is broken only by the slow movement of the creature as it feeds. It is a moment of pure survival. Luke uses the Force for the first time in a way that directly saves his life, pulling his lightsaber to his hand and striking the creature in desperation. The Wampa is wounded and retreats into the storm. That moment marks something important. Luke is no longer just a farm boy. He has survived a predator that dominates an entire frozen ecosystem. But the galaxy is far larger than Tatooine or Hoth, and Luke's next encounters take him into deep space. After escaping Hoth, Luke travels through an asteroid field aboard the Millennium Falcon. At first, the journey seems like a simple escape route. Massive rocks drift through space in every direction. It is dangerous, but manageable, until they land inside what appears to be a hollow asteroid. At first, everything feels safe. Then the ship begins to lose power. Strange creatures begin attaching themselves to the hull of the Falcon. These are Mynocks. The Mynock is a space-dwelling parasitic creature that survives by feeding on energy. It attaches itself to starships and begins draining power systems slowly and silently. At first glance, it looks like a bat-like creature drifting through space, but its impact is far more dangerous than its appearance suggests. When the Falcon becomes infested, systems begin failing. Power drops, engines weaken. The ship starts to become vulnerable inside the asteroid field. Han Solo quickly realizes what is happening. The Mynocks are draining the ship's energy supply. This forces the crew outside to physically remove them, exposing them to the vacuum of space. It is a completely different kind of threat compared to anything Luke has faced before. Not a predator on land, not a monster in an ice cave, but a life form that survives in space itself. And that realization leads to something even more terrifying. Because they are not alone inside the asteroid. Moments later, they discover the truth. The asteroid is not a rock at all. It is the mouth of a gigantic creature. This creature is the Exogorth, often called the space slug. The Exogorth is enormous, so large that starships can land inside its mouth without realizing it. It drifts through asteroid fields, hiding among the debris as it waits for prey. Luke experiences something completely different here. Instead of fighting a creature directly, he realizes they are inside it. The walls begin to move. The cavern shakes. The realization hits slowly but clearly. They are being swallowed. The Falcon escapes just in time, blasting out of the creature's mouth before it can close completely. For Luke, this moment expands his understanding of the galaxy again. Creatures are not just on planets. Some live in space itself. But Luke's most important encounters are still ahead. Because after leaving the Rebel fleet, Luke travels to Dagobah to begin his Jedi training. At first, the planet feels like a swamp with no direction or structure. Thick fog covers everything. Strange sounds echo through the trees. The ground is unstable and alive. And here, Luke meets something that challenges him in a completely different way, not through strength, but through perception. The swamp itself hides creatures that are almost invisible. One of the first is the bogwing. The bogwing is a large flying creature that moves silently through the thick mist above Dagobah's swamps. It blends into the fog and shadows, making it extremely difficult to track. Luke barely notices them at first, but their presence reinforces something important about Dagobah. This planet does not reveal its dangers easily. Everything is hidden. Everything is watching. And then Luke encounters something far more dangerous. A creature that hides beneath the water itself. The Dragonsnake lives in the dark swamp waters of Dagobah. It waits beneath the surface, completely still, until movement above signals prey. When R2-D2 approaches the water, the creature strikes instantly. The water explodes as the Dragonsnake emerges, pulling the droid underwater. Luke reacts quickly using the Force, pulling R2-D2 back before the creature can fully drag him into the depths. The swamp becomes clear in that moment. Dagobah is not empty, it is alive. And every part of it hides something dangerous. From the canyon predators of Tatooine to the frozen hunters of Hoth, to space-dwelling parasites, to asteroid monsters, to swamp predators hidden beneath still water, Luke Skywalker's journey is defined not only by battles with the Empire, but by surviving the creatures of the galaxy itself. And the further he travels, the more dangerous those encounters become. Luke Skywalker's journey through the galaxy does not become easier after Dagobah. In fact, it becomes far more dangerous. Because as he grows stronger in the Force, he is pulled into situations where survival depends not only on skill, but on understanding the hidden dangers of the galaxy itself. Some of his most important encounters happen during his time training under Yoda on Dagobah. The swamp world is already filled with strange life forms, but there is one moment that tests Luke in a way no creature ever has before. Deep within the jungle, Luke faces a vision inside a cave saturated with the dark side of the Force. This is where he encounters something unexpected. A vision of Darth Vader. But what makes this moment unforgettable is what happens during the duel. Luke strikes Vader down in the vision, only to see the helmet break open and reveal his own face. This is not a physical creature, but it is still one of the most dangerous encounters Luke ever experiences. Because it shows him something far more threatening than any monster, his own potential for darkness. However, Luke's physical journey continues beyond Dagobah, and so do his encounters with real creatures. One of the most dangerous environments he enters is the desert fortress of Jabba the Hutt. Jabba's palace is filled with traps, guards, and creatures designed to intimidate and punish enemies. Inside this environment, Luke is thrown into the pit of the Rancor. The Rancor is one of the most feared creatures in the galaxy. Massive in size, incredibly strong, and highly aggressive, it serves as a living executioner beneath Jabba's palace. When Luke is dropped into the pit, the creature appears immediately. The ground shakes as the Rancor enters the chamber. Its massive claws slam into the stone floor. Its roar fills the underground arena. At first, it seems like there is no escape. The creature is too large, too strong, and too fast. But Luke studies his surroundings. The Rancor charges. Luke dodges. He uses the environment itself as his advantage, eventually destroying the creature by collapsing the gate mechanism above it. This moment is important because it shows Luke adapting rather than overpowering a creature. He does not defeat the Rancor with brute strength. He survives through awareness. But even after escaping Jabba's palace, Luke's encounters with dangerous life forms are far from over. One of his most intense battles happens during the final conflict on the forest moon of Endor. Endor appears peaceful at first. It's tall trees. Soft light filtering through the canopy, a calm forest environment compared to the harsh deserts and frozen worlds Luke has already survived. But beneath that calm surface is a highly active ecosystem filled with predators. One of the most important creatures Luke encounters here is the UOC trap beast, often seen in the form of massive logs, swinging traps, and hidden forest hazards used by the UX to defend their territory. While the UX themselves are allies, their environment is filled with dangers designed to capture or disable intruders. During the battle, Imperial scout troopers and even Luke himself must constantly avoid traps hidden throughout the forest. These traps are not single creatures, but they function like biological defenses of the forest itself. The entire environment becomes a living obstacle course. But one of the most direct creature encounters Luke experiences on Endor involves the Imperial side as well. The Uok allies themselves use creatures like the giant Gorax, a massive forest-dwelling beast known in expanded lore of the Endor system. The Gorax is a towering creature that lives deep within the forest canopy, far larger than most of the UOSC population. Its footsteps can shake the ground, and its size makes it a dangerous force when disturbed. Although not central to Luke's direct battles, it represents something important. Even the forests of Endor contain creatures powerful enough to influence entire battles. Luke's survival here depends on coordination, awareness, and trust in his allies. But his most iconic final confrontation does not involve a creature from nature. It involves something far more symbolic: the Emperor's throne room on the Death Star. While this is not a creature encounter in the traditional sense, the final moments of Luke's journey place him in direct contact with the dark side itself. As he faces Emperor Palpatine, Luke also faces the most dangerous creature of all, the temptation of the dark side. And in that moment, Vader himself becomes part of Luke's final trial. The emotional battle between Luke and Vader is more intense than any physical creature encounter he has faced before. It is the culmination of every survival instinct, every lesson, and every fear he has encountered across the galaxy. From the Wampa on Hoth to the Mynocks in space to the Exogorth inside an asteroid to the Dragonsnake beneath Dagobah's waters to the Rancor beneath Jabba's palace, every creature Luke has faced prepared him for this moment in a different way. But here, the danger is not a monster in the traditional sense. It is choice. Luke ultimately refuses to give in to hatred, choosing the light even when everything around him pushes toward darkness. And that decision defines his legacy far more than any creature he ever fought. Because Luke Skywalker did not become a legend simply by surviving monsters. He became a legend by surviving everything the galaxy threw at him. Natural predators, space-dwelling parasites, ancient swamp creatures, and even the darkness within himself. And across his entire journey, one truth remains constant: the galaxy is alive, and it is filled with dangers waiting in every shadow. From the smallest swamp creatures to the largest beasts in space, Luke Skywalker's story is proof that survival in the Star Wars galaxy is never guaranteed. It is earned, one encounter at a time. Milky